video is not going to be a super new negative video. I'm not just going to talk about all the shit things that come with having a baby and birth. Having a kid is exhilarating and fun and stressful and amazing, and the love you feel is insane. So it's all wonderful. But there are some things that I feel we definitely should have talked about more in the NCT classes. Other mums definitely should share more. I think people are scared about saying the truth when they think it's going to put people off. Personally, I wish I'd have known some of these things I'm going to discuss now, because I would have felt a bit more emotionally prepared for when they came, so more able to deal with them, rather than just thinking, am I the only person that's this has happened to? But I have to say, all the shit things that come, all the hard things that come with having a baby, you know, there's a moment of beautiful, precious perfectness that they give back to you that makes it all worth it. So as long and sleepless and hard the nights may seem, just one tiny moment of loveliness in the morning can reverse it all. So yeah, I don't want to be super negative, but here we go. These are the things I wish I had spoken about more and wish I'd known before I had a baby. So first thing I'm going to talk about is birth in general. It's brutal. So I'm very proud to wear this birthing mother badge now. I feel that when I walk through town and when I see other mothers, even, you know, my mother, my grandmother, any mother who has been through, however easy the birth is, whether it's a, you know, a fast, straightforward vaginal delivery or a C-section, or however you've done it, it's brutal and it is animalistic and it is hardcore. So as wonderful and beautiful as you may think it is, it's also, I mean, it's brutal. I, for some reason, thought I wasn't going to be the woman who mooed. Well, I didn't moo, but I thought, yeah, I'm going to ace this. You know, I've been training loads, mind over matter, I've got this, you know, it's just can't be that bad, everyone does it. It's, you know, it's a bit of pain. It's not really pain, but it just, as women, however scared you are to have a baby, if you're worried about the pain or if you're worried about the tear and all that kind of thing, just remember that we are biologically designed to give birth to babies. However fit or strong or mentally prepared, physically prepared you are, something takes over and it just happens, and you may scream, you may not scream, but just be prepared for how brutal is the only word I can really use. I mean, it's insane. Like it takes over your whole body, and it's amazing, and it produces this beautiful, amazing thing you've been waiting for. But just be prepared for how mental it is. I feel like my partner was quite traumatized by it. You know, there's not loads, but there's blood, there's poo, there's like screaming that's not really screaming, it's like kind of shouting, desperation, pain. It's a trauma. You go through a trauma and it's completely takes over your body. So I just wanted to kind of, you know, put that out there. In our NCT groups, we talked about the birth canal and we talked about the hormones and basically science, which is really interesting. But if she'd have just said, you will probably be on all fours, mooing like a cow and won't care, you know, what is said or done around you, and just be prepared also for the fact that it might take 2 days. Also, okay, this is a big one. I know loads of my videos have been about it and it's got loads better now. I'm coming into my sixth week. Breastfeeding. If you want to do breastfeeding, I have, you know, it is the best thing for your baby. It's amazing that we can produce food and water for our baby for, you know, up to 4 years that has antibodies, and it's designed specifically for your baby. However, if you can't do it for whatever reason, you might not be producing enough milk, you may get ill, your baby may be ill, you may just not want to do it. Like I really suffered with so I had my baby at home, and I didn't ask for the help that I should have got with the latch. So the first week, I'd say, she was basically just chewing my nipples, and they were like holes in my boobs. They were basically open wounds and really, 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 really painful. Just gonna say it. I mean, and it was, you know, it was because I didn't get the help I needed. The latch wasn't right, and breastfeeding should not hurt. It should be an enjoyable, pain-free experience. But I spent most of my day crying, not wanting my baby to feed, which is awful, because obviously that's all I wanted to do for her. But I was so scared of her using my nipples that it was causing massive anxiety and pain. And, you know, the first few weeks of motherhood should not be like that. So get help with breastfeeding. There's loads of free help. There's you know, your midwife, everyone should help you. Don't suffer in silence. But if you do, I totally get it. If you decide not to do it, don't let other people put pressure on you. So I would have given up if I hadn't have found shields, nipple shields. So I'll put the description in the thingy down there. But they completely saved me. I also had 3 days off, completely worried, just expressed, and I bottle fed the baby. And it let them heal a little bit, and they've healed ever since, and now it's fine. But oh my God, they should have talked to you a lot about breastfeeding. If you want to do it, it can be really hard if you've not got it right. Or my baby had tiny mouth and she had a bit of tongue tie, and you know, all these things. If you want to do breastfeeding, because you know, if it starts to hurt and it's not as easy as you think, people just give up, and it is the best thing for your baby. So, but if you decide not to do it, don't beat yourself up. It is hard. And also, formula is not the devil. The devil is depression and postnatal depression, and not wanting to feed your baby, and not being happy, and your baby not growing and not being healthy. What is most important is you are happy and yourself and healthy, and your baby is growing and healthy. And if that means you have to give it formula, give it formula. Not a big deal. Poonamis, poo explosions, shitstorms, they happen. I actually kind of like them. I kind of like the like poo cleanup operation that can happen at like 2 in the morning, or if you're in a cafe, or if you're having dinner out, or you're like, it's happened. My boyfriend said it's a little bit like cleaning windows. You just try and get it, you know, as much cleaned up as in as little time as possible, and just, I like the challenge. I kind of think I'm faster at doing them than he is, but I might have to set a timer. I might have to set that challenge. But breastfed babies and this early, the poo doesn't really smell. I mean, it is like a korma. I'll probably never eat Indian again, but the poor little thing, when she's been like squirming, you can tell she's needed a poo for a while, and then suddenly this poo explosion comes out the sides of her nappy and down her legs and up. A tiny bit of me is like, yesterday, in fact, she had 8 poos. Not exaggerating, she didn't poo for 2 days. Yesterday, 8 poos. Big, diarrhea type, healthy newborn baby, mental korma poos. I don't think I expected this, but I found it quite difficult with sleep deprivation and all the anxiety and the stress and stuff that comes with being a new mum. For the first 2.5 weeks, and I think maybe she was a bit, you know, she smiled quite soon, but until about 3 weeks, nothing, nada. There was no expression on her face that said thank you, or that acknowledged the fact that I was up all night and that I'm freaking out and this is really hard. Just the baby gives you no emotion. I kind of knew she wasn't going to, but yeah, that was really hard because it's hard work and there's just nothing from the baby. So partners, if you're watching this, you have to give extra love just to make sure the mum is in her vulnerable state feeling like she's Wonder Woman. She has to feel like she's Wonder Woman because you are. This is a biggie. This is a big one for me. I don't think I suffered more than lots of other people, but I definitely, this was the main issue that caused all other things to be much harder to deal with. Sleep deprivation. And I say sleep deprivation, not just tiredness, because I don't know if you've ever tried to go to work, you know, do a full working day on 2 hours sleep, let alone none in 24 hours. Like if you've been out all night, you've been drinking, you've not slept at all, and you try and go to work the next day, you're kind of screwed. You can't, like you're not all there, you're not functioning properly. Try that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, no sleep. You maybe get 20 minutes here and there in the 24 hours, but it's so you kind of get a bit hysterical. I mean, it's kind of scary because you have to look after this tiny, precious human being, which is like your heart, and you can't see straight, and you are delirious, and you feel like everything is much harder. Everything's harder. You can't cope with your emotions as easily. You can't cope with anything because you haven't had any sleep. And people, this is really frustrating, say, just try and get your head down when she's asleep. Ah, hadn't thought of that one. I couldn't sleep. So after a few days of not sleeping, because I guess she was up all the time and you're running on adrenaline, you just can't shut off, can't go to sleep. So she'd go down for an hour and I'm like, so I haven't showered in a few days, probably should do that. Haven't eaten properly, probably should do that. Might just put all this shit to one side of the room to hide it, to make me feel a bit better. Might also speak to my boyfriend. I don't know, you've got a million things, and of course you should just ignore them and sleep, but you can't. Well, I couldn't. And then when I think, okay, now I'm winding down, those things are done, I feel a bit more relaxed, she wakes up. So that turned to kind of, you know, fueled my anxiety and the fact that I was constantly wired all the time, so of course I couldn't sleep. What changed that? I think what changed it was the fact that I just got to a point where I could have died if I hadn't slept. It got quite desperate, so I just passed out basically. Also, a good tip to you partners, the crying is shit and the crying is really hard, but if the mum hasn't slept for a while, just half an hour or an hour, even if the baby's crying, and you take the baby in the sling or the pram for half an hour or 45 minutes round the block, and it's crying, it's driving you mad, it's not gonna die. If it means the mum gets half an hour sleep, and that could literally change everything. I mean, sleep deprivation is an actual thing, so whatever you can do to help the mum get half an hour or an hour, just do it. I'm going to talk about hemorrhoids or piles, or whatever they are. Prelapse, is that what it's called? So, not a very flattering subject to talk about, but I actually mentioned it in our NCT class. I was like, I heard you can maybe get hemorrhoids from pushing, and it was like brushed over. It's like, yeah, we'll talk about that later. I mean, it's 2017. If we can get our tits out, you know, in public quite easily, not that I do that. What I'm trying to say is we're liberal, we talk about these things, but we don't talk about this, childbirth, and we don't talk about pooing whilst you're... Not everyone gets them, not everyone will poo when you're giving birth, but personally, not that I did a lot, or not that I have a lot of hemorrhoids, but I was pushing for quite a long time, and I was in a low squat position, and she was not stuck there. I don't want to say that like it was a problem, but she was there for quite a while. I mean, it makes sense, right? You're perhaps going to squeeze out a little tiny boo. If you're squeezing and pushing down in that area for hours and hours on end, it's gonna happen. So yeah, the hemorrhoids, basically, it's not a big deal. It's not an issue. Don't panic, don't worry about it. It happens quite often, quite regularly. They can go away. They can be a little bit painful. I mean, mine, you can't really notice. I haven't looked, but they're tiny. All it means is when I go to the toilet now, it's a bit of blood and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it's not an issue. Spoken to the doctor, it will get better. But yeah, if you're in a squat position with your bum pretty much on the floor and you're squeezing for like 4 hours, maybe I'm just a really good pusher. Anyway, they can be really bad. You can get, they can, basically it's the blood vessels inside your, that come out a little bit. It's right? Squeezing out a baby from a tiny hole. So yeah, that happens, not a big deal. You can't really see them. It's not as disgusting as it sounds, and they can sort themselves out. They don't tell you about this. For 2 weeks, I was completely incontinent. I was pissing myself. And also, if I needed to go to the toilet and I wasn't near a loo, that was probably going to be quite an issue. But I just made sure I was near the toilet all the time. Not all the time, but I worked, as a PT, I was very aware of my pelvic floor during my pregnancy, and I worked a lot on my pelvic floor, and I thought I had it covered. But yeah, that was completely shot. I think that came out with all the poo and the hemorrhoids. No, I can feel it again now, and I've been working on my pelvic floor and it's getting stronger, and that's fine. But for the first 2 weeks, those massive pads you have to wear, yeah, I got the like well, not normal, but I got like heavy period sanitary towels. They're completely useless. You basically need a towel, an actual hand towel. I had quite a lot of stitches as well, so you bleed quite a lot. But I have to say, I was only on paracetamol and ibuprofen, so although it sounds really brutal and you have all these stitches and all this stuff, and you can't, basically the stitches cause you to not walk very well, and it's fine. It is fine. Like, I was taking I was taking painkillers, but not very strong painkillers, for maybe 3 weeks. Considering what you've gone through, your body copes really, really well. But I just, I'm just telling you all these things because although it sounds horrendous, it's amazing how quickly you just heal and things go back to normal. Like, I'm completely back to normal now, and I'm 5.5 weeks. Yeah, my stitches have all healed. I don't piss myself unless I'm jumping, but I'm working on that. And my body's already like shrinking. I think I've lost, like, without doing proper fat burning exercise, I've lost about 10 kilograms. Yeah, but I'm really not bothered about my weight. I put on about 2.5 stone, and I'm really not that bothered about how long it takes me to get the weight off. I just want to feel fit and healthy again. So yeah, whatever, lost 9 or 10 kilograms, but who cares? Incontinence, the pads help, but on numerous occasions the first couple of weeks, I'd get up out of bed with her in my arms, and it happens, and you can't really stop it. But this is just because my pelvic floor was like not non-existent, but some people might be fine. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what happened to my pelvic floor. Maybe she just broke through it. Last one, I just mentioned it a little bit, but the stitches. So if you need to get stitches, if you tear, it's really common. Don't freak out if you tear. My stitches are all healed and everything is back to normal there. I mean, maybe maybe this is too much to talk about, but it's a bit how do I say this? So I think I mentioned before about massaging your perineum. Maybe I need to do that a little bit more just while it's like healing, but it's totally fine. But I have to tell you, the stitches kill. When they put the stitches in, I just had Gassadair. Some people have morphine or stronger painkillers. I think you can ask for them, and maybe if you're prepared to take them, just ask for them, because oh my god, I think it hurt more than the labour. You're very sensitive down there. I mean, you can't see it. You're not going to see it. You've just had a baby, so you don't really care. It sounds really horrendous that you tear, but your body is really good at healing, and it just heals, and it's really not that big a deal. So don't freak out about that. But the stitches, ooh, be prepared for. It's like a tugging feeling. Also, I swear she was stitching me up with like a shoelace. It was really, really thick. It's one long continuous stitch, and yeah, oh, it hurts thinking about it. Considering, yeah, 5 weeks later, I'm totally fine, and definitely would have preferred to go through that than her just to leave it, because what the hell did they do in the wild when they can't stitch it? Ugh. But yeah, so stitching is totally fine. Also, I presume this is what helped, because my stitches healed really quickly, but I took shallow, well, they don't need to be shallow, but I took baths every day or every other day, missed out some days, just with a small handful of sea salt and some lavender oil, and they healed really quickly. So maybe that helped. I don't know, it's worth a try. Also, a good little tip when you go for a wee, just keep a bottle like this of water next to the toilet, like a squirty one, and just squirt it on you, because your wee can sting a little bit. And that's all I'm gonna say. I brushed through this a little bit because I wanted to get everything in that I felt that should have been mentioned before, but I have to say again, she's asleep now and has been asleep for the last 2 hours, and I've been able to make this video. I've made some lunch. I'm even going to do a workout in a minute. Things get, you know, in just 6 weeks, I thought 6 weeks sounded like a really long time originally, but it's really not. In hindsight, you spend all the time with your baby, you get to know your baby more and more every day, which is just amazing. Now she's smiling and even like kind of, I say giggling, but maybe not. And it is really hard. Like, I still don't sleep through the night. I still feed every 2 hours and wake up obviously through the night every 2 hours, and it is really difficult, and my house is still a mess, and you know, my body is not like it was, but it's totally worth it. So it sounds like I'm being really negative, but it's totally worth it. And yeah, she's been asleep. I've got loads of stuff done. The first few weeks feel like that's never gonna happen, but it's fine. You just do it. Just get used to it. Mum life.
Good morning.
I just thought I'd end the video here, which is a perfect example of the beautiful, lovely moments you get to wake up to. I mean, I've got a crying baby right now, but look at her smile. And it makes all the little chit things totally, totally worth it.